everybody. Welcome to Pink Shade. It's Thursday, and that means it's Pop Culture and Bravo, Pop and Bravo, as we call it. And I have a very special guest here. I'd say it's a pop culture maybe expert, a Bravo expert. It's Megan Weaver.
Hi. How are you, Mary?
Hey. Okay, Megan, first of all, you got to say Mary Payne, not Mary, because,
it goes together.
It's double. It's a Southern thing.
Well, hello, Mary Payne. How are you?
It's hard. I know you're a California girl.
How are y'all?
There you go. I know it's hard for non-Southerners to get it, but sometimes I just let people call me Mary the entire podcast, and then I have listeners write in and go, why didn't you ever correct them? I'm like,
I stand corrected. I saw that in your email and it confused me a little bit, but then I was like, okay, I guess that's how she, wants to be addressed. So I didn't remember. So Mary Payne.
In the South, most people have two names, and you go by your first and your middle name, and your middle name is usually somewhere along the line, like a mother's maiden name situation.
Got it. Okay, you can call me Megan Catalina.
Okay, Megan Catalina. I'll do that. Rolls off the tongue.
It really doesn't.
Okay, you guys, Megan has a new podcast, and I'm specifically interested in it because the name of the podcast is My Addiction, and it's Megan and her sister, who's like a super talented, well-known screenwriter, right?
Absolutely. Television, film, big producer. I mean, she's the real deal. She's a bigwig.
Yeah, Marty. And so it's great because the two of you are sisters, and you explain at the beginning, like you're stepsisters, but you've been sisters since you were like 7. So it's not like you need to explain.
We've spent our whole lives together. So, and raised in the same family with the same parents. I mean, I had my dad, she had her mom separately, but in the same household. So that's, that constitutes sisterhood. Yeah.
Your sister.
Yeah. Yeah.
And both of you have struggled through addiction, and you talk about the addiction in both your families on both sides, your blended family. And it's fascinating. Now, I've listened to 2 episodes. Have you are 3 out yet by Thursday?
The third one drops Thursday today. Okay. And we have Carl Radke from Summer House on.
Oh, Megan, that's great.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And talking to him was super enlightening, and he was very honest and vulnerable, and it was a great conversation, and I hope that everybody tunes in.
Yeah. So on your first episode is you and your sister going through your story. Mm-hmm. The second one was Amber Childers. Now, my question about that is, so she's your neighbor, and we know her. She was an actress that was on the show I think she's been on other things. That's just what I know her from.
Right.
But she was married to Randall Emmett, who was then not married, but engaged to Lala. And I know that from following your career, you did interior design work for Lala when she was with Randall. Please explain.
Yeah. So I did Randall's house. Gosh, I don't even know how many years ago it was. It was when Randall and Lala were together, and I remodeled and redesigned their master bedroom, bathroom, and their little girl's playroom. Randall's and Amber's little girl's playroom. And it turned out beautiful. And I love Lala. She was awesome. But yeah, so that's the history there. And it's just a coincidence that now she lives on my street, and that the Lala connection, small world.
But Amber and Lala, it seems to me, from what you see, that they're fine now because they have a shared enemy.
Oh yeah, they're very good friends. Yeah,
and they look alike. They look alike, don't you think?
Yeah, Amber's a redhead now, so they look a little different. But yeah, they have similar aesthetic qualities. They're both beautiful, and more importantly, they're both very kind, and they have huge hearts, and they're lovely people.
Did Randall ever pay you?
He did.
Okay.
He did.
That's good. That seems to be a trope.
We came up with a settlement. So I guess you would call it. But yeah, that's water under the bridge. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So
good.
Well, I remember that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, my mind, the things that I remember and then the things that I don't remember are it's not great. It's not great.
Same girl.
Yeah. Now, okay. I'm going to encourage everybody to listen to your podcast, and you don't have to be so interested in the thoughts behind addiction. I think it's just so interesting, you and your sister, the conversation that you have is so natural. And then you have Amber on, you explain like, she's my neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And she also is going through her sober journey as well. And you sort of talk about, which is something I've touched on this podcast before. Some people have this whole theory of sober or California sober or whatever works for you. And I've talked to Randy. So Randy is a good friend of John Hill, and she just randomly was on 90 Day Fiance as like a friend of somebody that was on 90 Day Fiance.
Mm-hmm.
And John Hill's like, my friend is on that show you cover. I was like, wait, what? So I had her on because she is a like an interventionist specialist. And she was saying kind of what you guys were saying, which is however you're sober to you is what's important. And you can't judge if somebody is like, well, you know, a couple of times a month I might do mushrooms and that's sober to me, or California sobers, I can still smoke weed. That didn't turn out so well for like James Kennedy, you know?
No. So yeah, recovery, listen, we are not experts. I'm only 18 months sober. My sister has a lot more time than me. But we are not experts. We only can share our experience and how we, you know, our walk through sobriety. I think that, you know, recovery is not a one size fits all. I think that everybody has their own approach, and however you cannot pick up that drink or do that drug or whatever it is up to you. And the best way for you to, you know, maintain that sobriety is that's your path, your decision, whether you're microdosing, whether you're California sober, whether, you know, whatever it is that you are abstaining from because it will kill you or ruin your life, do it however you can get that done.
Yeah. I think it was just a really, really great conversation. And so I want everybody to listen to it because it's really good. It's really well done. And I just like to promote podcasts when they're like super great.
We have a lot of fun. You know, the fact of the matter is that we do, you know, my sister is hilarious. And we come from a very funny family. And so that chemistry is there. And it's not all about recovery and sobriety, the podcast. You know, we talk about our, you know, growing up and some fun stories about our youth. And we also talk to other people about their, you know, stories that don't have anything to do with this sort of, you know, sobriety topic. You know, we do touch on it a lot because that's what that's what we want to, you know, get the message out. But we do have a lot of fun, and there are, you know, a lot of laughs along the way.
I like the sister dynamic. I have sisters, and I always love the sister dynamic. Now, this is going to be weird, but I'm about to change the background because I realized I have the wrong background up. So here we go. Now it's better. That's better.
Cute. I like the pink.
I had to put it because it's the Pop and Bravo logo, and I had the wrong logo up from earlier when I did a recap of the Valley. Okay, so anyway, now it's that was really bothering me.
It was distracting you.
It was distracting me. Oh my God.
And now I'm kicking the table.
Okay, so let's talk about, you know, speaking of your podcast and Bravo, which we love to talk about. Like, okay, addiction on Bravo is such a thing. There was somebody, DJ James Kennedy, that is not even on my list because I forgot. I tried to just kind of make a list of all the addiction stories we've seen on Bravo, and I forgot about DJ James Kennedy. That was kind of a big one. So I've got Mary's son, Robert Jr., on Salt Lake City. We have Leah McSweeney, who is in and out of sobriety and suing Bravo over it currently. We have Margaret Josephs, who's not an addict, but has clearly stated always, I don't drink. I don't drink at all. And she never does anything. Yeah. And she's been very, you know, I have a couple of friends like that. Like, I've never tried it. I have so much addiction in my family. I have never wanted to have a drink because I've seen what's gone on with the adults in my life. And I think Margaret maybe has a similar situation because of her mom.
Maybe. I mean, I think, you know, I've come into a lot of, I guess they call them teetotalers, term for people who just don't drink. Some people just don't drink, you know, I mean, it's a totally foreign concept to me.
Same.
But, you know, there are people out there who just don't like it and just don't touch the stuff, which, you know, wow, I'm envious.
And just like I've never wanted to try it. You know, I have, speaking of interior designer, my interior designer for my house comes from a long line of, you know, Irish Catholic drunks. And she's just like, I saw, you know, my uncle do this. I saw these things as a child that I thought, never will I do that. Now, a lot of kids think that.
Yeah.
And then they go to college and they drink or whatever. But she's just like, no, I don't care. Like, I don't miss it because I don't know. And it's foreign to me as well because I come from a big family of people drinking.
It's a nice concept.
It's a nice concept to just be like, I'm just going to leave it.
Right.
Now we have Luann, who's a kind of a case study because she had a kind of a spectacular downfall. You know, she punched a cop, went to jail, all the things, was court ordered sober for a year. Didn't make it that year, had champagne darling at a cabaret.
Right.
Then she declared that she knows that she shouldn't drink anymore on camera, and then was sober for a couple of seasons. Now she's back on Love Hotel and just drinking like it's no problem.
I noticed that on Love Hotel. You know, when you are an alcoholic, you are acutely aware of, other people's drinking habits.
Yes.
And people you see on television. I mean, it's just natural. It's just sort of what happens. And I did notice watching Love Hotel, I was like, I wonder if Shannon and Luann are going to be drinking, alcohol. And sure enough, they are, again, it's up to them. That is their choice, your choice. I have no judgment around it. If they can control their drinking, my hat's off to them. It really is an individual's own choice to manage it. And if they think they have a problem or not, they, very well just may have gotten out of control a couple of times and they had to face some consequences and they're good, to each their own. But I did notice the cocktails flowing on Love Hotel. Well,
it's like, my thing on that is, yes, it's their individual thing. And if they had a problem for a while, now they feel they have it under control. I think in my personal experience, you're always, and they talked about this on Southern Charm not this current season, the season before with Shep, they were like, you're always bargaining with yourself. Like, well, I'm just going to drink beer. Or I'm just going to, and I just know from my own experience with my husband, like I told you, was this coming up this year, 11 years sober. It was a lot of bargaining. It was like, okay, well then I'm just not going to have martinis anymore because that's the problem. Or I'm not going to, no more scotch for me because when I drink scotch, I'm mean. So I'm not going to, and it's a lot of bargaining. And I feel
only on the weekends, never. That's the nature of the beast, right?
Yeah. And the bargaining. Luann, we saw, created a faux because she doesn't drink anymore. And I think if she wouldn't have just been so out and about with it on television, I don't drink anymore. I've realized I can't have one drink, And
then walked it back.
And then she hasn't ever walked it back. She just all of a sudden is drinking again. Like we would, like us Bravo people aren't going to. So that's one thing. That's a case study. And then we have Shannon, who at the last reunion, when they showed clip after clip after clip after clip of the last 10 seasons reunions, every single reunion, them talking about her drinking, which sort of like, we're like Goldfish Bowl. We kind of forget. And then you go, oh yeah, they have mentioned it every single reunion. Same with Karen Huger. They mention it every single reunion. Karen gets drunk and calls us and doesn't remember what she says.
Oh God, that stuff, I got to just say it just to interrupt you for a second, that breaks my heart. Yeah. It just, me too. It's the struggle is real. And, when I watch those things and they keep talking about the drinking and it really breaks my heart for those people. And I know Shannon and I adore her, and it's really difficult. And I'm not here to say she has a problem or doesn't have a problem, but watching those things and watching all that happen on television truly just, it really gets to me. See, I'm even getting emotional.
I mean, well, you've been on television. So, you were on many seasons of Flipping Out, Jeff Lewis's show, and his other show that he had. And you've been on television. So you've got to be, in my mind, and maybe if you've been on so long, you sort of lose that, like, they're recording what I'm saying.
Yeah, you forget. Yeah, you forget that the cameras are there. On the shows that I did on Bravo with Jeff, and then you were talking about Hollywood House Lift that was on Amazon Freevee. There wasn't a lot of like drinking or parties or trips, or it was all just, home reno. But there were a couple nights we went out and had like team meetings and things like that. But I would imagine that when you add alcohol to those situations, you forget even further, even more that there's a camera in your face,
and you're just,
I mean, I know I would, if we were drinking on those shows and, the cameras, you already forget that they're there being, totally sober. But yeah, I would think that alcohol would even blind you and leave even more that that's happening. So mistakes are made.
And the Karen Huger is rough because a lot was on various podcasts and people chatting was made about kind of the difference of like Shannon just flat out, I was wrong. I made a terrible mistake. I could have hurt somebody. I'm upset about how my children view me. Like all, just saying all the right things and, and really.
And meaning it.
And meaning it and trying to, the court told me to do this. I'm going to do that. I have no questions. I obviously made this mistake. And then the opposite was Karen Huger just double, tripling down.
Yeah, that was nuts, man.
With just, well, everyone will see that I did nothing wrong.
I mean, I'm not guilty. Like that blew my mind that she was, dying on that hill of, it wasn't me. And it didn't happen. And I'm not guilty. And you'll find out. I was just like, this is nuts.
And they would say to her, like, okay, so we're, having drinks. And they would kind of make a big deal to poke at her to like, we got a non-alcoholic drink for Karen over here. And she's like, everybody's just being shady. And I'll be back drinking with you ladies soon. Don't you worry. It's like, don't say that. You're about to have a trial. Don't say that.
Not a good look. Not a good look.
And then they go and they go to the first trial and they have it pushed. Now I have to think at that point, they knew. Anybody knows, like I obviously am not a lawyer and I know there's going to be body cam. You can get a FOIA request to get that information and to know that it's out there and still say, I'm not going to plead guilty beforehand, to get a lesser sentence. And it was her fourth DUI, they said.
I knew that there were multiple, but that body cam footage, that was nutso.
And, you have to think, really there, but for the grace of God, go, how many times have I been drunk and said the stupidest shit? And then to have it recorded and just have so much of it, not just like one thing, but just like over and over and just the thing. Humiliating. Yeah. Humiliating. So you think all that then she's going to be like, okay, look, I was in denial. Obviously, there was a big problem that night. I'm guilty. I am sorry. I'm going to serve my time. Kind of like Shannon did. I'm going to do whatever the court asks me. I'm going to try to make amends. But no, at the reunion, they put out this completely fake, look like Lifetime movie scripted scene of Ray walking into the room with her lounging on her bed in like all beige.
That was amazing.
Thank you, Ray.
Full makeup, the wig, all the things, like a boudoir pic.
Yes.
And, the back and forth. And that was something else.
That was so funny because Giselle and Ashley and them were like, you can turn that off. Like, we got it. This is so stupid. Because he's like, hello, Karen. How are you feeling? Wow, that is surprising. You are going to go to jail.
God. That was so awful. It was so cringe to watch, right? You're just like, shriveling up inside going, I can't believe they're doing this.
And I love how they're like, please turn that off. This is love. This is.
Yeah. Put us out of our misery.
Now I feel like, and so like with Jen Shaw being in jail, I sort of feel like she won't come back to Salt Lake City. Andy has said in things I've heard on the radio and stuff, has said enough negative about her. Like what she did was try to take money from the elderly is not great.
Come on. That wasn't, I mean, listen, a DUI is no small,
of course,
no small, misstep. But I feel like what she did seems to me to be a lot worse. And premeditated and, this wasn't a mistake that somebody made, having too many drinks and getting behind the wheel of a car, which is a huge mistake. Don't get me wrong. But it feels like the other thing is just a little bit more serious to me. And I would think that's something you can't come back to or as a network, condone or forgive.
Yeah. Stand behind it.
Yeah.
Now, we also have another incident of questionable behavior on Salt Lake City when Heather Gay got socked in the eye by Jen Shaw and wouldn't admit it. Now, so many people did not hear this. So it was that season at that particular reunion. And then the next season when Jen Shaw was gone, the first episode, they're mentioning ketamine.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I know. See, a lot of people don't. I was like,
I didn't clock that. So wait,
like,
so they did ketamine. They were doing ketamine the night she got hit?
Yeah.
Or they're doing it?
No, allegedly. I don't know. Allegedly. But
that was so bizarre.
They were under their breath saying it at the reunion. And then on the first episode back after that, Whitney or somebody said, like, well, Lisa did ketamine and got hit in the face.
Ooh,
I mean, they were saying it. I was like,
I don't even know how you do ketamine. Is it like a pill or a drink, or
do you snort
it? I don't know. I don't know how you do ketamine, but
I don't either. Yeah.
Interesting. That was all so bizarre to me. There was something, and I still feel like there's things that we don't know. And it all seemed very strange.
I think they were just extremely fucked up on some kind of drug.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they didn't want to say what it was, allegedly.
Yeah.
And that leads us to Jax, which for all these years, no one's been saying he obviously is a cokehead.
He's pinned. He's totally pinned.
I have never seen cocaine in my life. Now, my kids don't believe me. They're like, oh my God, you're like so crazy and like deadhead and all this stuff. I go, the deadheads really aren't into the cocaine.
They're not. I was like, no, psychedelics, baby.
Yeah. It's like, I've never seen it, but I can tell when somebody's eyes are bugging out of their head and they're like, had to get 4 nose jobs that maybe something's happening.
Yeah, that's it. To me, that was all pretty obvious. Now, listen, I dabbled, in the 90s in college. It was never really my thing. But I mean, even somebody who has never touched the stuff could see something was going on. The sort of agitation and the sweating and the talking fast, and it just looked a little sus, in my opinion. So I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised when he came out and said that he, has a problem. I was like, oh well, finally, thank God he's asking for help.
Yeah. And, I've listened to Brittany's podcast that she did after Jax went on Alex Baskin's podcast.
Right.
Because she had Kristen on and she was like, I counted 32 lies in that podcast. Oh, and she wrote them all down.
Yeah.
And basically what she said was she had to threaten his job to tell production although I'm sure production knows, to tell production what had happened, which appears to be something pretty serious that they're dancing around that happened with him throwing something or,
the bar stool or something happened
pretty bad.
Yeah.
And she told production. And so his job was threatened. And that's the only reason the first time he went to the mental place, which she said within a week of being out of that place, he was back at it. So I guess we are going to see him go twice. And she even said on Watch What Happens Live last night, she was like, sure if he says he's sober. I mean, she absolutely does not believe it.
Oh, absolutely. That's too bad. Again, that's heartbreaking. You have to want it for yourself. You can't, as with your husband, it's something that only you can do it, and if you're going for your job or you're going for your partner or you're, going to rehab or some sort of treatment facility, I mean, I'm not sure how successful you'll be,
Right.
I hope his recent trip, or if he went, was for himself and that he made the decision and it wasn't from the pressures of, the outside world.
Yeah, it just seems like the way she's talking is, he's doing it to save face, as we've seen him do. And, I really, at the core of it, I don't even know, in my non-professional opinion, if substance abuse is Jax's main problem. He's always been a habitual liar.
Right.
Compulsive even, I was trying to explain to Keisha, my co-host, we covered The Valley over on Patreon, and she never watched Vanderpump. So she's only watching The Valley. So she's like, I've only seen this guy for a season and a half and he seems like a liar. I said, oh my God.
You got to go back, watch all the Vanderpumps. Yeah.
Speaking of clip packages, if they put that together, he will lie about the 4 things he bought at the grocery store. He just lies about everything.
For sure.
And at the base of it, something there has made him like that. And then I think he's a self-medicating situation after that,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So many people on our show.
It gives me anxiety. It gives like watching Jax on Vanderpump way before even I got sober or anything. He just, his freneticness gave me anxiety. Just watching him talk or being just in his state gave me such anxiety.
And then what we saw, what we see now on this, we only had 3 episodes this season of The Valley, is some of his behavior is a little like triggering to me because I was reliving some of my past with what he's saying is, well, yeah, I may have done that, but and okay, I may have done that, but don't forget the one time you did this. It's a lot of, he can't just say, I did that and I'm sorry. It's a lot of, okay, I got mad, but anybody else would get mad too.
Deflecting. Yeah. Deflecting, playing the victim. Poor me. You would do this too if you were me. Right. So that's a big one. That's addict talk,
A lot of it is just straight up addict talk. And I was like telling Keisha, I was like, oh my God, he's taking zero accountability and trying to put it on Brittany like it's Brittany's fault.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you were me, you would do this too.
Yeah, don't you know? Like anybody would react.
Anybody would act this way. And I think he even said that to one of his buddies. I can't remember who he was talking to, but I think he said, if this happened to you, wouldn't you be upset? And the other person said, yeah, I wouldn't get physical though. I wouldn't throw things, but so.
And it's also the friends talking about like, well, if this isn't his rock bottom, I don't know what is. And it's also like, well, that may be rock bottom for you, but maybe it wouldn't because you don't know because you're not an addict. So maybe it wouldn't be your rock bottom. Maybe losing your kids just frees up more time for partying. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I know. God, who knows?
It's so dark.
I hope he's okay. I really do.
I do too. I really do too. Okay. Well, let us discuss something a little more light.
Okay.
And that is Love Hotel.
Oh, I mean, there's only 1 episode out right now. Right?
Yes, that's right. Okay. That's right. Yeah.
Megan,
would you go on Love Hotel?
Hell no.
But those guys were so good looking.
I'll tell you why. Because I'm too vain. And I don't know what's happening with their makeup on that show. Beautiful women. I mean, all of those girls are gorgeous.
Yes.
And now I don't know if it's the makeup or the lighting, but something is going on where they don't look good. And it may have just been that one night when maybe they were nervous and maybe they were sweating and maybe it was the humidity, but it just looked like the makeup was leaking into whatever crevices we all have at this age. And I was just like, where's the makeup team? You need to blend and, but it looks like they're having a good time. I'm into it. I watched it thinking, oh, this is going to blow. I really didn't think it was going to be compelling at all. I thought it was just one of those, let's package this and sell it. And, but I can see that this is going to be a good watch.
I think so too. And I was the same way. I was like, all right, it's on. Listen,
I didn't watch Crappy Lake because I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So, was it? Okay, maybe I will. And I was thinking this is going to be another one of those, but no, it really surpassed all my expectations.
I have to tell you, they're filming at the Grand Vilas in Cabo. Now, I have been to a Grand Vilas in Riviera Maya, which is like Puerto Vallarta. You've been there too?
All inclusive, honey.
All inclusive, honey.
Yeah, I went there. A couple of years ago, 3 years ago or something like that with my family. And it is the one in Playa del Carmen, right?
Yeah, it's near Puerto Vallarta is all I know.
Oh, the one I went to was in Playa del Carmen. But anyway, they're at the one in Cabo.
So there's actually a Grand Vilas that's closer to me that would be Cancun, which is closer to me here on the East Coast. Yeah. But we went all the way to the one over near Puerto Vallarta, near that area, because it was literally like half the price. So we're like, but it was, and I don't know why. I think the Cancun one had just been on a TV show, but the Grand Vilas in the Puerto Vallarta area, what is, it's not Riviera Maya, that's Cancun. It's something else. It is, I wrote that down wrong. Anyway, it was so nice. And we've been to, as the kids were young, we went to a lot of all-inclusives that were just, you weren't even looking forward to eating because you're like, all this food is going to be disgusting.
Yeah, the drinks are watered down.
And it's very low. But Grand Vilas, I'm going to tell you right now, 10 out of 10, highly recommend for an all-inclusive.
Same. We love the Grand Vilas in Playa del Carmen. It was awesome.
that has to be the one I went to. There can't be that many.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of what we were speaking of earlier, we have two sober people on this show that are both drinking. And me as somebody married to an addict and you as an addict, we're not the only people watching this. Just regular people who have nothing to do with anything, who have followed Bravo, are going to be watching to see if Luann and Shannon are drinking. And they were not pounding drinks or doing shots or anything, but they were, Luann had a whole date around champagne.
Right. Yes. I know it's tough. That's another reason I wouldn't do the show, Mary Payne, because I can't imagine dating in that kind of way with a bunch of guys and being on vacation somewhere tropical and not drinking.
Yeah.
Those are, you're on a tropical vacation and you're going on dates, multiple dates. Those are two of the things that, my sobriety has been relatively easy, but those two things are difficult for me.
Yeah.
The dating and the going on a tropical vacation, everything else has been pretty much a breeze. So that Grand Hotel is not for me. So I can see why they're drinking. I get it. I get, the medicinal benefits of it, but it's interesting to watch that.
It's funny that you say that. And I've said this on the podcast before that, and maybe you feel the same. My husband he doesn't understand going to the beach and not drinking. So like if we pack up to go to the beach for the day and we're at the beach and we have our cooler, he doesn't understand if I don't have like 3 high noons in there. I go, because I don't want to sit on the beach and sweat and drink. I'm just going to have water. Like it's hot. He's like, what? You could have a beer. I'm like, I don't want a beer.
I'm with him.
He doesn't get it.
Oh, I would have a canned wine in 2 hot seconds.
Yeah, he doesn't understand. Yeah. So it's so for him, he'll be like, every occasion is a drinking occasion. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And when we go to dinner and things, if I'll have a glass of wine, but when the waiter comes back, she'll have another one. I'm like, no, I don't want another one.
Right.
Like maybe later, but he's even 11 years in, he's still very attuned. I don't think he's like counting other people's drinks or anything like that. But he's very,
you're a normie, and to us alcoholics, you're fascinating. We can't imagine how you can just have one glass of wine or not, have a high noon on the beach on vacation.
Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't get it.
Fascinating to us. Yeah, we don't get it. That's because that is actually normal consumption. That's how it should be. And we're envious of that. I think I could speak for all of us that is that's something we envy, of being able to, moderate and just be like everyone else, a normal person,
a normie. So okay, all right, Luann, on this first episode, at least, has come across to me as a little annoying.
Lecturous.
She just comes across as so arrogant to me. This is my opinion.
Sure.
And I've met her in person before and she was fine. But I find her to be, I met her during one of her sober periods, actually. But she comes across in the shows like, well, of course, all the guys are going to love me, darling. They don't. Oh, it's Real Housewives of New York, actually. Like, well, they don't know what the show is, so they don't care. Now, let's talk about these guys. I'd like to go through them and see if you.
Sure.
I'm going to give you hints, and you see if you can remember what they are. Okay. So we have this guy named Nick. Okay, here are the red flags about Nick immediately. He's a crypto entrepreneur.
I like that.
No.
Okay, I remember reading that caption. I'm like, that's interesting. He could who knows what could happen with him in his life and levels. Okay, so there's Nick. All right.
Okay, and he had an upper ear piercing for no reason.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah, everything he had. And also later we see a clip of him later and he's got like a tank top on and he's got what I call, I'm referring to my daughter and also Harry Styles, like the scribble tattoos everywhere.
Right.
And I have tattoos. Like I don't care about tattoos, but he's got what I say looks like you just let a child draw all over you. It's just like little scribbles all over.
Okay. Yeah. So Nick,
So Nick, he's crypto entrepreneur, which to me seems not correct, and has an upper ear piercing for no reason. All right. So, okay. Now, next we have Ralph. Okay. Ralph is 61. He's a sound system specialist from Nashville, has 2 young boys that are 10 and 11. So he obviously had like a second go round and had 2 little kids. Now, I think he's kind of cute, and I'd like to know what rock bands he's worked for.
Yeah, I paid attention to him because I have a background in music and working the soundboard that he does at these shows. And I, spent a lot of time in Nashville. My best friend lives there. So I like him. I think he's a front runner for me.
I liked him, but I did really want him to start dropping names of the bands.
Yeah, he probably can't do that, NDAs and stuff, but or he hasn't done anything that exciting. But I think he's got there's time. There's time. We've got. Okay. I think he's going to let the cat out of the bag.
Okay, but if you find anything out from your connections, you let me know.
We'll let you know.
All right, now we have Earl.
Earl the Pearl.
Earl the Pearl was 59 and had on some questionable shoes.
Shoes? What about that tank top he wore that next morning with the sweat? Like, he's sweet though.
He was sweet, and he came across at first like you were like, oh God, this guy's going to be a douche, but he wasn't. Mm-hmm. He's been married 2 times. He had a brief marriage when he was young, and then he had a longtime wife that died of cancer 5 years ago. They didn't freeze her eggs. They never had kids, and that was sad. And Shannon actually was really listening to him and was like, well, I'm sorry. That she just kind of quickly went, oh, I bet you had a wife that was like 20,
Right.
And then he was like, actually, no, my wife died. And that was rough. But Shannon seems to kind of like him.
Well, he's so sweet, and vulnerability I find is attractive. And I think that he's laying it all out there. He's not unattractive. He needs to get rid of those tank tops, and he needs to get rid of those shoes. Mm-hmm. But I think if Shannon does end up liking him, I'm not sure where this is going. None of us do, but she can give him give Earl the Pearl a little makeover.
Just like
Shannon
she did.
Touch.
Yeah. Remember when
John Jansen?
She bought John Jansen some new teeth, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. It's easy. We can all do that.
And some Ferragamo loafers.
They were $400. Yeah.
Okay. Then we have Wale. Wale is 38. He's an IT director from Providence, Rhode Island, not Rhode Island, Connecticut. And he says he was with somebody for 5 years. He goes to therapy, and he really likes Ashley.
He's cute. And I like their chemistry.
Cute.
I think, and I love that he was with someone for 5 years. I think that shows commitment, and he's not afraid of commitment, and I think that they're cute together. I don't know if she's feeling it, but I think I like them.
I liked it too. And I'm always trying to geographically, I'm like, okay, so she's here in the DC area. He's in Providence, Rhode Island. That's probably a quick train ride.
Not bad.
Philip is 63, an investor from LA, and we don't get much of him until later. So I don't know any backstory on him. Okay, we have Jay, who's 46. He's a marketing director. He's from Boston. And again, Giselle is in my area, and Boston is just up the East Coast a little bit, probably a quick train ride. He has 2 kids. Giselle likes that because he's already got his kids.
Jay. Does he wear black glasses?
Yes, that is who Giselle goes on the date with.
Right. Okay. Got it. Yep.
Yeah. And then we have Jerry. Okay. Jerry is 57. He's a retired carpenter and a surfer, lives in Puerto Rico.
Yes. I paid attention to him. I think he's cute. I like him. I find him a little boring.
I'm wondering how he's a retired carpenter that retired to Puerto Rico to surf.
Yeah, that's
something was not doing there.
Okay. That's a red flag.
Mark is 61. He's a real estate developer from New York City. He says he has no television. He has 5 children. He was married for 13 years. Now, he to me is like super good looking. He looks like a male model to me. Don't you think?
I've been following Mark for ages on Instagram. I was surprised. Oh yeah, I think he's hot. I followed him on Instagram ages ago when he restores brownstones and things in New York City.
Whoa!
So I follow a lot of reno accounts. Construction, reno, build, design stuff, and I discovered Mark a couple of years ago or something, and I was like, he's hot, silver fox.
Yeah.
And so when I saw him on the show, I was like, oh my God, wild.
Have you ever been in touch with him? Have there been any DMs? Nothing like that?
No. It burst my bubble a little bit because, on these Instagram reels he does, his renovations are beautiful. And these brownstones are beautiful. But when I saw him on Love Hotel and he was cooking at home, that kitchen he was cooking in looked a little tired and a little sad. So I was like, maybe Mark's not, I don't know. That was a little red flag for me.
I need to go back and look at that because that kind of stuff I was just kind of glossing over. I was just trying to get the background. Oh yeah. The cabinets were like from 1970. The microwave was outdated. The stove he was cooking, it just looked tight. And I mean, it's New York, but it just looked really tired. Sorry, Mark. Weird. Yeah. Doctor, heal thyself. Yeah. Okay. I thought it was interesting that Shannon said she's never really been in love before. I know. What about her husband? What about David? And I understand that they've had a contentious time and David Baddour might be a little cuckoo allegedly, but in the beginning, they were together. I was surprised by that too. And do you think that's a hindsight thing, and she can't really maybe put herself back in the mind that yes, she probably was really in love with him, and now of course the current situation has sullied it so much. I think you're right. I think that you've got a point there because I feel like even watching Housewives when they were struggling and they were going to all those sort of marriage camps and things like that, I think it felt like she was really trying, and the vow renewal, and I feel like she did love him, and I think she really was in love with him. And I think all the hard stuff that followed, really hurt her and probably made her she probably can't access, those feelings she had for him in the beginning because it's been so painful. That would be my guess. Yeah. And I mean, she did love John Jansen too, even though it didn't turn out so great. I think so. Poor Shannon. Okay. I know. I want her to find love. Me too. Me too. So they go on these dates. So Ashley takes Wale. They have this chocolate making class and he peels this cacao bean, which means he's ready for marriage. And I was like, the bean talk was too much for me. Then Giselle takes Jay with the glasses on the date. They do a tequila tasting and a $25,000 taco. What was that? I think that must be in pesos. What is that in pesos? They didn't say pesos. They said $25,000. What is 25,000 pesos? Because I wonder if we do the math, if not, we're looking at like a $10, $15, $20 taco. Because they were like, they were like, it's got this kind of Kobe beef and this kind of caviar, and then we've got the gold on top. And I was like, so you're telling me for the sake of this show that probably didn't even cost $50,000 to produce, you're going to give two $25,000 tacos? It's just like, it reminds me of those glasses. Remember those sunglasses? 25,000. Right. That's all I could think about. Yeah. And I was like, if they presented that to me, I would be like, I don't want to eat that. I don't like. I got to pay for NYU. Yeah. Just send me the cash. Send me the check. So anyway, at the end of it, she says she thinks he might be a bit boring, and she's leaving her options open. Good. All right. Shannon takes Earl the Pearl. He's wearing the shoes, and they eat cheese. And we do see her drinking and doing cheers with wine. They have all the wine glasses in front of them as if they're doing wine pairings with the cheese. But we avoid that topic. she tells him about her DUI and she tears up. She says it was, a horrible moment in her life. And he says, who amongst us hasn't made a mistake in our lives? I don't judge her. And I think it's really sweet. I don't know if she's going to leave her options open or just jump right in with Earl. I hope not. I hope she will leave her options open.
I do too. I like him a lot. I like that she's being open. I like, I'm rooting for her all the way. Let's see. Yeah. There's some other guys there, and I think she should explore the possibility with these other guys too.
Yeah. So Luann takes Jerry. So they drink champagne by a clamshell. Just no mention of any of the fact that Luann has said publicly she is a sober person and she created a faux. She's just going to drink champagne. So it's just going to act like it didn't happen.
Right.
So she did try to drop in a life is a cabaret, darling. But
oh God.
She constantly tries to drop it in no matter what podcast, radio show, anything you hear her on. We get it. You have a cabaret show. We all get it.
Self promotion, right? So you get it where you can get it. I know. And I think she is playing this whole thing where she comes across, like you said in the beginning, I think she's playing a character. I mean, I don't know how much of it is really who she is or who she thinks we want to see. I think a lot of it is she gets a lot of laughs for this darling stuff and and I think she's rewarded for that, and so she leans into it. So I think a lot of this on Love Island or whatever this is. What are we watching? Love Hotel. I think that she's leaning into that character because everybody gets such a kick out of it, and maybe it's coming on. She's laying it on a little thick. So maybe. a little dabble, do ya?
But I do think, she comes across like, well, I have a boat, and of course I know the sea because I have a this and I have that. I have a TV show, and you're like, we get it. You're rich. I mean, okay, everybody here is rich.
The guy rolled his eyes a little bit at that too. I feel like I caught like a little eye roll there.
Yeah, it was interesting. She tried to drop in the life as a cabaret, but it gets overshadowed by the ball busting comments and the busting and the balls and the. He talks about his surfing life in Puerto Rico. He wakes up, he surfs, and he only gets, in a bad mood if the surfing isn't great. Mm-hmm. And she goes, I don't know. I don't think I could retire on a beach. I think I'd be bored. And then they walk on the beach for 12, maybe 14 steps. And she goes, I'm done. She looks at production like, we did it. You got the shot. I don't want to talk to him anymore. I was like, whoa. Yeah. Wow.
I clocked that too. I was like, okay, this is, again, that makes me believe that this is all a character, an act. This is not, she's doing it for the, for the viewers.
I will say that when we see they do like confessional talking heads together, and we've seen Luann and Shannon together, and I don't necessarily feel that Luann is like a girl's girl or one that's going to be like, give you a pep talk. I mean, I feel like more like if you go to the bathroom, she'll try to steal your boyfriend, situation, But I did think she was being really nice to Shannon, like, oh, you're beautiful and you deserve love. And, she's trying to also, I don't think she sees Shannon as any competition.
Sure. I mean, right. I think they would probably be going for different guys and different guys would be going for them. Yeah. So
after the dates, they meet back in this main area and they're kind of are talking to other guys. Shannon is now talking to Ralph. And let's remember who Ralph is. Ralph is the sound system specialist.
Okay.
That has the two. I'm having to keep looking.
It's confusing.
Then Giselle talks with Ralph and Shannon's like, oh, and she's talking to Ralph. Nick with the scribble tattoos and the random high ear piercing. See, now and the crypto, now you're concerned because of the,
I'm very concerned about the earring.
Yeah. Tells Ashley, next time there's a date, I want you to take me on the date, which I think is sort of unattractive.
Right.
Don't be too desperate.
Right. I agree.
And then Wale says to Ashley, let me walk you to your room, and no kiss. And then she's annoyed and she goes inside, but then he goes back to kiss her. And I was like, that was a good move.
It was. I like him. I think he's cute. He seems authentic to me.
I like him. Now the upcoming previews look really good. I didn't write them all down, but I'm surprised that more hasn't come up just in the Bravo world about all the stuff that happened with Joel Kim Booster after it was over. Speaking of intoxicated, got drunk at an after party and reamed on Shannon.
Yeah, I remember that. I was doing the radio, I think, back then. And when that came out, there was some headlines. There were some headlines about
Yes.
Shannon and that host. So far, so good. Like, so far, it seems she's respectful and they're getting along. I don't know if us as the audience will get to see that whatever went down that made the press.
Yeah.
I don't even, to be honest with you, I don't even remember what the beef was, but I know that there's something happened where he felt disrespected.
He at the after party approached someone and was, drinking or whatnot, and was going off on how horrible she was. She kept production waiting. She was a nightmare to work with, said terrible things about her daughters and not good.
Yeah. Right.
And then I remember when Shannon and I guess just Vicky, not Tamara, were doing the Dos Amigos, and I guess somebody asked her about it, and she said, "Well, I thought we had a nice time, and I was very surprised that he said all those things about me, and yes, it was very upsetting." And but people that I had talked to in that world, were like, "That's really stupid of Joel Kim Booster, because that's the way to never get another hosting job on Bravo again."
And you mentioned again, because this is what I hear with my alcoholic brain. You said that he was at an after party drinking when he unleashed on her.
Oh, he went live. It was like,
oh, okay.
He posted get ready in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm about to go live and tell everybody some shit.
Okay, well there you go. I mean, that explains that explains his behavior. And I don't know if I'm buying it.
Yeah.
I think I think Shannon was probably super respectful and did a good job,
I think if you're doing a show with 4 housewives, you might expect some diva behavior.
So my makeup took a little longer. Sorry.
And also it didn't work.
Yeah.
We're all sweating. I had to pay for that lady to blot me.
Right, exactly.
Now, the Valley, what are your thoughts on the Jesse versus Michelle situation?
I don't know. I mean, listen, there are 2 sides to every story, and we are hearing both sides, right? So normally you're friends with one person, in a marriage or separation or divorce dispute. So you always hear their side, and you don't really get to hear the other person's side. And this, you get to hear both sides. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like both of them make really good arguments, and it seems like they're both, screwing up and also, championing their kid, being their children's advocate. So I'm torn. Yeah.
So Keisha and I record together, and she's very thinks Jesse is great. And I'm like, are you insane? And I don't think Michelle is the greatest either. I think, like you're saying, they both have problems here. Mm-hmm. But Jesse, when she said at the end of the episode, well, he's just as bad as Jax, I was like, okay, let's walk that back. I think they probably are both narcissistic personalities that they've been rejected by a woman. Mm-hmm. I think that's true of both of these guys. It seems Jesse really thinks Jax is super cool, which is weird. I think Jesse is very, very smart, where with Jax, that is not the case.
Right. Yeah. Jesse seems like a smart cookie. Listen, they probably both have control issues, and, during a divorce or separation, you sort of lose, you don't have control anymore over that person, or the outcome or what happens. So that's probably put them in both difficult situations, but I wouldn't compare Jesse to Jax. I wouldn't either. I don't see that, but what do I know?
Do you have thoughts on these men between the age of 38 and 45 having a boys chat with 20 guys on it, where they just say whatever they want and think it's just going to never get out, with 20 people on it?
Yeah, that's weird to me.
It's very strange.
Just go be somewhere. Is it online? Are they chatting on I don't remember.
It's like an iMessage group chat.
Stupid, dumb,
and they think nobody's there. And then Jesse's
record it.
Jax thinks that there's a mole. I was like,
of course there is.
There's not a mole. I picked up my husband's phone and looked at it. Like, you guys are so fucking stupid.
So dumb. Yeah. If you get, just go somewhere. Go hang out at a restaurant. Get things off your chest. You don't want to say or do anything that can be recorded or seen.
Yeah, it's really stupid.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh my gosh, Jesse's like, Jax, my king, is at camp. So I must take the mantle and find the mole in the boys chat. I'm like, you guys are 45 years old. You need to stop with the boys chat.
Yeah.
But it's a great show. The Valley's a great show.
I love it. I mean, listen, I live in the Valley. So I grew up in the Valley. So I recognize all those street signs and all those locations and the heat and what they reference. And so I love it.
Oh, now you and I talked, we were texting yesterday about Atlanta because I was like, well, I'm not caught up. I've been traveling a ton. And so I'm not caught up. I'm one behind. But you caught up at least through the Kenya and Brit of it all.
Oh, I'm all caught up. I am all caught up.
Could you believe that? Can you believe Kenya did that at her own opening of her own business that she was dedicating to her daughter?
More importantly, horrific.
Yeah.
But more importantly, blew up her job.
Her main job, which is the show.
Yeah.
Like she's been on a long time. She makes a lot of money on this show.
She's been on since the very early days, and for her to do something so risky like that and morally corrupt, I'm going to say, was a really, really stupid move. That's her bread and butter. She's crying that she's worried that her salon's not going to make it or be successful, and you've got this backup plan, or it's actually probably your plan A, being on Housewives of Atlanta, and to put that in jeopardy, very short-sighted in my opinion.
Yeah. But, people are like, oh, well, they'll probably wait 2 seasons and bring her back because they are bringing back Phaedra. But I think the bringing Phaedra back is because they're like, hey, one of our stars, we had to axe. And it's very similar, in my opinion, to what's happening on The Valley. They had to, Jax goes away. So they're like, can we bring in Lala and Sheena for a couple of episodes?
Right.
We got to bring in some Bravo heavy hitters here to replace.
Right. Yeah. 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 Probably. So I love Phaedra. Can I just tell you, I am obsessed, in love. My favorite housewife ever is Shamea.
Shamea, it's like we didn't even know you before because she was always on as a friend of.
Love her.
Can you imagine that house?
It's gorgeous.
$9 million.
And I got to tell you, I'm not mad at her decor. For the over the top, sorry, Mary Crosby, love you too. Talking about over the top decor.
Yeah.
I can't get behind Mary's decor. I love her, but
it's a little Willy Wonka. Yeah.
It's a little much with the tall chairs back. Yeah. But Shamea's, it's over the top, right? But I like it.
But also, don't you think, Megan, if you have a space that big, you can't be, grays and whites and subtle tones and sectionals and because the space is so huge. Every room it's like going to Versailles or something,
Sure.
So you have to sort of go with the style of the house, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she's done, or her designer, has done a great job with the spaces. I love her girls' hangout room.
Yes.
The pink couches, I love it.
I love on the first episode, she's like, I'd love to say my husband's a Nigerian prince, but it's HVAC.
Again, another reason I love this couple and them on this show. He's an HVAC king, and he apparently does like all the airports and good. Yeah,
she said like stadiums and airports. You're like, whoa.
What a great niche he found in that business, right? Good for him and good for her. I think she's fantastic. I think she's the funniest. Portia's great too, but I think Shamea is the dark horse and that little gem we never saw coming. Yeah,
I agree. Because she came in and we were like, she's now the anchor of the show. Like, what's this about? Amazing. But you're like, it works. It works. They took their time. They took their time kind of retooling the show, and it really works.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Oh, okay. Well, we are going to be done with this portion of the show. So there's going to be a little bonus over on subscriber services, Patreon, Supercast, Apple, for anybody who wants to hear more with Megan. But we're done with this. So before we close this out, tell everybody where they can find you and where they can find your podcast.
Absolutely. My podcast with my sister, Marty Noxon, is called My Addiction. And you can find it on socials at My Addiction Pod to follow us. And to listen to it, you can anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all those places. So there are 3 episodes up currently. And the most recent one, we talk with Carl Radke from Summer House, which is fascinating and interesting. So that's where you can find us.
That's great. I was kind of wondering if you're going to keep it along the vein of all women, but no, there's Carl.
Oh, we've got some dudes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Megan. And I'll remind everybody to follow me on Instagram at Pink Shade Pod. And that's it.